Cannibalism. Humans eating other humans is one of humanity's most haunting taboos. Yet, it is not the stuff of legend or horror fiction. Archaeological evidence shows it was real in our past. From time to time, even recorded history documents desperate survival cannibalism, and, in prehistoric contexts, mass graves such as the Neolithic site of Herxium in Germany 7,000 years ago reveal signs of systemic butchery and possible ritual cannibalism among early farming communities. However, the most chilling discoveries come from much deeper in time. The fossilized bones of ancient humans and human relatives, our caveman ancestors that bear unmistakable marks of being butchered and eaten. In this deep dive, we'll explore the scientific facts and fossil evidence of cannibalism among prehistoric humans, an unsettling chapter of our evolution, written in cut-marked bones and skulls turned into cups. The oldest known signs of cannibalistic butchery comes from a fossilized leg bone discovered in Kenya and dated to about 1.45 million years ago. This shin bone bears a series of cut marks that were almost certainly made by stone tools. The gashes are positioned at a prime location for slicing off muscle, strongly suggesting the individual's flesh was deliberately carved for consumption. According to researchers, the most logical conclusion is the hominin was butchered to be eaten. In other words, our ancient human relatives were likely eating each other far earlier than once thought. While this single fossil can't reveal the full story, even the species of the butchered victims are unknown. It provides the oldest decisive evidence of hominins butchering one another, a prehistoric precursor to cannibalism as a typical part of life for our ancestors. One of the most dramatic examples of prehistoric cannibalism comes from the Gran Dolina cave in Spain's Sierra de Atapuerca region, where fossils of Europe's earliest humans have been excavated about 800,000 years ago. A human species known as Homo antecessor lived and died in this cave, and the evidence suggests cannibalism was rife among them. Archaeologists have recovered butchered remains of at least 11 individuals, including children and adolescents, from Gran Dolina, and these human bones were found mixed with animal bones from deer, bison, and other prey. The human bones bear the same telltale cut marks and precision damage as the animal bones, indicating they were cut with the same tools and cracked open for marrow in the course of meal preparation. In fact, cut marks on the skull and the removal of the skull bases suggest some victims were decapitated so that their brains could be extracted and eaten. This grisly pattern led researchers to call it gastronomic cannibalism. Essentially, human meat was treated as just another menu item, not a last resort or sacred ritual. What's especially startling is that the cannibalism at Gran Dolina appears to have been routine. Layers of the cave sediment spanning thousands of years contain human bones processed in the same way, implying this was a habitual practice, not a one-time emergency. The environment, at the same time, was rich in resources, plentiful game, and mild climate, so hunger alone doesn't explain these acts. Instead, scientists have proposed a chilling motive, eliminating the competition. Groups of Homo antecessor may have killed and eaten members of rival bands as a strategy to control territory and resources. Paleontologists note that all the identified victims in Gran Dolina were subadults, children, or adolescents, who would have been easier targets. Preying on the young posed lower risk for the hunters and was effective in the strategy of controlling competitors. In essence, these early humans might have practiced cannibalism as a combination of nourishment and warfare, feeding their bodies at the same time, removing enemy gene lines from the landscape. The Gran Dolina find has been called the oldest example of cultural cannibalism on record. Cannibalism wasn't limited to our direct ancestors. Even the Neanderthals, our close evolutionary cousins, engaged in it. In recent decades, archaeologists have identified several caves across Europe where Neanderthal remains show clear signs of butchery. One striking case is the Goyet Cave in Belgium, dated to roughly 40,000 years ago, when Neanderthals were nearing the end of their era. Deep in the Goyet caverns, researchers found broken bones from at least 6 Neanderthal individuals, including a newborn baby, a young child, and 4 adolescents or adults, all bearing cut marks from stone tools and fractures consistent with marrow extraction. It is irrefutable cannibalism that was practiced here, one scientist declared, upon examining the cut and cracks of Neanderthal bones. The Neanderthal hunters at Goyet didn't just feast on horse and reindeer, which were also found in the butchered cave. They feasted on each other. Perhaps even more gruesome, the evidence shows that Neanderthals treated human carcasses much like animal prey. The bones at Goyet were disarticulated, stripped of flesh, and smashed in the same manner as the bones of the deers and the horse found nearby, certainly to extract the nutritious marrow inside. Cuts on Neanderthal bones indicate they systematically sliced off muscle tissue for consumption. Some of the human bones were even used as tools afterwards, fashioned into retouchers for sharpening flint knives. This means the cannibalism didn't let anything go to waste. After eating their fellow Neanderthals, they took the leftover bones and put them to work in tool making. Goyet is not the only site, far from it. Neanderthal cannibalism has been documented at multiple caves in Ice Age Europe. In Spain, the El Cedron cave, about 49,000 years ago, yielded Neanderthal skeletons that were broken and butchered. In another Spain cave, Zepharia, similar finding emerged, and similar caves in France contained Neanderthal bones with cut marks and hammerstone damage, indicating flesh removal and marrow hunger. Even earlier, a famous Neanderthal site at Krapina in Croatia, some 130,000 years ago, showed fragmented bones and skulls that many researchers believe resulted from cannibalistic practices. While the reasons Neanderthals turned into cannibalism remain debated, possibilities include survival during food crisis, ritual practices, or simply opportunistic scavenging from the dead. As one paleontologist who led the Goyet study put it, "I don't know how to interpret the reason behind this cannibalism. It can purely be food, but it can also be symbolic. The reason remains open." What is clear, the Neanderthals across Europe, from Spain to Belgium, partook in eating their own kind, leaving behind butchered bones as evidence of this dark behavior. Not all ancient cannibalism was driven by hunger or warfare. In some cases, it appears deeply ritualistic. A notorious example comes from Gow's Cave in Cheddar Gorge, England. This site, dating to about 15,000 years ago, towards the end of the last ice age, contains human bones that were not only defleshed and chewed on, but also meticulously modified after death. Researchers discovered several human skulls that had been carefully crafted into bowl-like cups, apparently after their heads were skinned and the brains removed. Long bones and other remains from Gow's Cave show clusters of cut marks and even human tooth impressions, clear signs that flesh was sliced off and bodies were cannibalistically processed. Intriguingly, this doesn't seem to have been done out of desperation. These people had plenty of food available, from hunting many deer, horses, and other game, and they took the time to engrave designs on a human bone and shape skull tops into drinking vessels. Such evidence suggests a deliberate cultural or funerary practice, consuming the flesh of the dead and repurposing their bones as a part of some ritual, perhaps to honor the deceased or absorb their life force. In fact, scientists describe this as the oldest known evidence of cannibalism as a funerary custom. Essentially, instead of burying their dead, these Ice Age humans ate them. In reality, all these motivations might have applied at different times and places. Cannibalism in human history was not monolithic. It ranged from the desperate and pragmatic to the ceremonial. What unites all these cases is the visceral evidence left behind, cut marked, broken, and sometimes gnawed. Bones that speak of one human using another as a sustenance. Scientific study of these remains has transformed what could be mere scary stories into documented prehistoric events. It is both fascinating and deeply unsettling to confront the fact cannibalism was a recurring part of the human history, from our earliest ancestors over 1 million years ago, through Stone Age, hunter-gatherers, and even into early farming communities. Humans have at times literally consumed each other. This dark practice is a reminder that our prehistoric world could be a very savage place, one where under certain pressure and cultural norms, man becomes meal. And that truth, backed by fossil proof, is perhaps more frightening than any fiction.